In this video, we're going to be looking at all of the objects of power in Arcane. These are usually objects that help the story move along or are directly tied to certain characters within the series. Gauntlets are a major object of power associated with Vi. They perfectly complement her incredible strength, agility, and power. Gauntlets are also the first object associated with Vander, but he now refuses to use his gauntlets out of guilt for leading his comrades to their deaths. Then there's this orange drink that Vander drinks. Soko, Marcus, and Savika have all also had this drink before. Two of them become leaders of organizations, so Savika drinking it is probably hinting at her inevitable role as a new leader of Undercity. Daggers. Soko uses sharp objects to fight. Characters who are linked to him like Descartes also do the same. He also has this ocular device he uses which helps humanize him, giving him a vulnerability that he has to maintain daily. It is a constant reminder of his life-threatening encounter with Vander from the past. Another object of power associated with Soko is Shimmer. He shares this object of power with Singed, who is its developer. Soko's role is to distribute it to the masses and flip a profit, while also using it to create monsters to protect him and his position of power. Now, if something is blowing up in Arcane, as in if there's any explosives, best believe Jinx has something to do with it. They are her bread and butter destruction causes. She also uses guns. She actually shares this object of power with Caitlyn. Although Caitlyn is more adept with rifles and Jinx is more powerful with pistols. Jinx uses heavier weapons like rocket launchers and machine guns as well. Our next object of power is the Hextech gemstones. These are the most important objects in the series by far. Their existence creates tons of conflict between major characters in Arcane. They can power weapons of mass destruction and they can also be used to improve lives. Everyone wants to get their hands on the gemstones to abuse their power. Unlike the Hextech gemstones, the Hex core is tied directly to Victor and maybe Sky. The Hex core is probably the most dangerous object we've seen in the series so far. Then there's also the Hex claw, which foreshadows Victor's eventual turn to the dark side. The Hex gates are directly linked to Jace and his role in the political structure of Piltover. The Hex gates are ports to the rest of Runeterra, which makes them crucial for trade, as they would be Runeterra's most efficient global shipping system. Speaking of Jace, obviously hammers are the main object of power linked to him. He uses them to fight and he uses them to forge. His partner in crime Mel creates paintings which appear mostly around her, but they also appear a lot in the city of Zon, in the brothel and as graffiti for example. Some of these murals are done by the Firelights, but we have no strong proof that all of them are done by the Firelights yet. Mel Medarda's ring is a signifier that she cares about the opinions of her family and is trying to win them over. She actually states that she's the poorest Medarda outside of the fact that she's the richest person in Piltover. She's definitely trying to outdo her family. Interestingly enough, she removes her ring in the last scene of season 1, choosing Piltover over her family. No one is more closely associated with light than Mel in Arcane. Blood will eventually become an important part of any series dealing with magic. So far it's shown as a result of violence and is most prevalent around Mel as well. In a similar fashion to how Mel is shown around light, Echo is shown around clocks or symbols for time like hourglasses. The hoverboards that the Firelights ride are obviously a direct reference to actual Firelights in the series. Jinx actually takes advantage of this by creating Firelight decorated bombs. She does this to frame the Firelights organization for the attack on the enforcers on the bridge, leaving no ties back to her or Soko. Echo fights using maces or batons. They are his main weapon of power for now. Gold is one of the most obvious objects of power in Arcane. Its power over people is best demonstrated with Marcus's terrible blood money deals with Soko. And although we don't see gold being transferred in these shady political deals which Jace allows to happen, we understand that the political corruption is enriching the lives of Piltover's finest and leaving those in the Undercity in the trenches. Interesting thing is that the politicians are just as shady as Soko, but we never actually see the gold they use to control people visually. This is a smart way of hinting at the cognitive bias people deal with when trying to compare the weight of two different crimes. White collar crimes often seem less important to deal with than the type of gang crimes that Soko is involved in, which is ironic because the white collar crimes can cause way more damage to people and the system long term. And that's it for the objects of power in Arcane. Let me know if I missed any and please subscribe if you haven't already. Bye.